Hello and welcome to Coach Unblocked, part of the Unblocked Podcast Network. I'm Coach Fred Riley with my special guest tonight, Coach Scott Rials, from Athletic Director, Head Football Coach at Baldwin County High School, a longtime friend of mine from working the Manning Academy together many years ago. We got to know each other because we were lined up alphabetically, and his group was lined up right next to my group with Rials and Riley. And that's where we developed our friendship. Scott, appreciate you coming on tonight. Good to see you.
Coach Riley, man, I appreciate you having me. Those were some good old days.
No doubt. You know, of course, we're getting going a little bit late tonight. Just, because of, you're still at it, still on the job, still working, had to go to. Tell me about your evening this evening and why we're starting about 30 minutes later. So.
Okay. My afternoon, I left Baby Net, headed to cheer competition. Our cheerleaders were in a cheer competition in Mobile at the Civic Center, and they competed about 3:15, and I was there for that. They did a great job, in my opinion. And then they competed again about 5:15. And I watched them both times and talked to my cheer coaches. They're excellent. We had a good time. The cheer squad did good. And I don't know how they came out. They weren't going to get the finals till like 6:30 or 7, the announcements of where they, stood. But we got a really good group, some good coaches and some good cheerleaders. We actually have 2 male cheerleaders, and they're very good too. So back in my day, we didn't have that, but buddy, they got them now. And those 2 guys that we got, they can do all kind of stuff. I mean, so my daughter cheered. She cheered in college. So I'm real, and my wife coached cheerleaders for over 20 years. So I'm pretty familiar with a lot of the cheer stuff.
Well, I would imagine your wife would be disappointed if you didn't go support the cheerleading squad today, and we don't want to head down that path.
No, sir, 100%. We, Mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy, so we're gonna make sure to do the right thing. If nothing else, just keep her happy. But I do enjoy supporting our teams, the cheer squads and everybody. So that comes with the territory. If you don't enjoy doing that, you probably is a good bet you need to get out of it.
No doubt. Now, tell me about how long have you been coaching? I mean, you've been in this a while now.
Yeah, as a head football coach, I just finished year 26. But before then, I got hired by a gentleman named Charles Sykes to coach basketball at a little school called South Montgomery County Academy, which is where I graduated from in Grady. And Charles needed a basketball coach. My wife was the secretary, bookkeeper, cheer coach. She did everything at that little school. I mean, she was there from daylight to dark, almost 365 days a year. And I was actually working in business, and Charles said, man, I got to have a basketball coach. He knew I played and was a McDonald's All-American and all that. So he kind of Julio'd me back in the early 90s to coach basketball. So I was coaching basketball, working a job. I wound up being assistant football for a little while. And then when the job came open, I was teaching PE. Jack Akins was the head coach. And he left because our cupboard was bare. I was a offense coordinator, but he left back in 98, and I took the job at South Montgomery in 1998. That was my first head football job. So that's
but there obviously was a transition into you getting an education degree, certified, all that stuff. So you go from business into coaching? You've been hoodwinked, snookered, whatever has happened to you has brought you into this, and I want to say 98 was when we met at the Manning Academy. I think all those things must have been happening pretty close right in there together.
It was around that time. It was maybe a year or two after then. I was bringing my oldest son, Ryan. He was a quarterback for me, but Ryan in 98 was in, I believe, the 7th grade. So I didn't start to Manning camp to either 99 or 2000 was my first year. And because I brought Ryan down there, and literally I was just, kind of hanging out. I brought him and another boy, and I was just chilling out a little bit. And next thing I know, I heard Coach Stevens was some of the guys that I knew coaches, and Coach Stevens, one of the finest men and greatest coaches you'll ever meet. But anyway, I love Buddy Stevens. But anyway, somebody said, "Hey, I think Coach Stevens needs some more help." Like on Saturday or Sunday, some of the coaches had to leave, so I went over there and kind of told him who I was, where I coached at, and he said, "Hey, just be there in the morning for the meeting." I said, "All right, I'll be there," and he told me what time. So next thing I know, I got a pair of Manning Passing Academy shorts and a shirt, and I'm out there coaching at the academy. So, and from then on, of course, Buddy's wife, Kirsten, she kind of handled everything. So he gave me all his information. He said, "Just call her. We'll get you on." Man, you did good. So from there on, me and you both were on. And I think I worked that thing about maybe 14 years.
Yeah, you worked it longer than I did. I did 10, and actually, I think I'm a little older than you are. It got to where it was killing me. I mean, the passing out at the end of the day, the grind. I mean, folks just have no idea that is a working man's camp. That is not like one of these SEC camps and go out and do a little work. It is sun up to sundown and meetings in between and your tail is dragging by Sunday morning. Oh mercy! I mean, it is a hard working camp, and they have high expectations of everybody that's there, and the energy level you bring to every practice, and they will fire you if you don't
no doubt
what you're supposed to do. They will send you home, and Buddy, I got into it. Buddy was the head coach at Tulane, and was doing a speed and conditioning camp in Orange Beach in the summer of '98, and was some Tulane booster had brought him down and was they were going deep sea fishing or something going on like that, and so I said, well, I'm going to go down here and listen to this guy, and I get down there. And I'm the only coach that shows up. And there's two like 10-year-old kids that show up to get speed training work. And I think they were children of the boosters.
Right.
And that's it. And Buddy coached that camp. When you learn something about Buddy Stevens, he coached that speed camp as if there were 200 campers there and 1,000 coaches there. I mean, we went a full length of time that you were going to do. I mean, he poured everything into it. He coached, he taught, and we became friends just through that. Because I had to help him with the drills because I was the only one there. And we finished up. He said, the Mannings have started this football camp, and it's possible. Our numbers are getting pretty good. It's possible we may have to add some help. Would you be interested in coming this summer? And I said, absolutely. And he said, well, I'll let you know. And I mean, they call me, you always check in on Thursday night. They call me like at 4:00 on Thursday. And can you be here? And yes, I'll load my car. Can I bring my quarterback with me? That's the only thing I want to know. Yes, bring him with you. And so I call my quarterback, tell him what's going on, call his parents, go pick him up in Loxley, and we head to Hammond, Louisiana, and get out there and get there about the time everybody's leaving to go eat to whatever restaurant they were going to eat in that town at that time, and there's one vehicle left, and it's heading out as I'm pulling in, and it's Archie Manning's vehicle, with his driver taking him and whoever's in the vehicle with him. And I come up and I say, I'm looking for the Manning Academy. I just sort of see these shadows in the dark. I just got here. I'm Fred Riley. Buddy called me, invited me to come. I hear this voice say, come on, you can ride with us. And I get over here and it's Archie. And I'm like, holy cow. I mean, I introduced myself. I climb in the back seat with him. And he gets, and he's on his cell phone talking. We introduced, I said, and he gets off the phone. I said, Archie, this is sort of crazy, but would you mind me borrowing your cell phone for a second and let me call my daddy? And he said, well, sure. What do you want to call your dad? I said, because my daddy ain't gonna believe I'm sitting in the back seat of a car with Archie Manning.
Oh, for real, yeah.
And sure enough, I called him, and Archie Manning gets on the phone, talks to my dad. And one of the great gifts I was able to give him and as a coach. And of course, I mean, the only people like the Mannings at that time had cell phones anyhow. I mean, we didn't I certainly didn't have one.
No, we were still going to the payphone with a quarter or something to call.
Yeah, or your school credit card number.
That's
or whatever
right.
you had to punch in. Ain't no doubt. So
Right.
so anyhow, let's go full circle back to South Montgomery Academy. You're now coaching, and you're the head coach. So how did you transition into the education element of it which obviously led to your career?
Yeah. Well, when I came out of high school, I actually signed a baseball scholarship with CVCC, Chattahoochee Valley Community College. And I went over there to play baseball, and I wound up not sticking it out. I went to Troy a little while and was going to play there. Never really played. So I had about 2 years of schooling, and I said, I just don't know if this school is for me. So I got a job. I was already working some jobs. So then I just started working full time. So I was working, and I was still living up there in the Grady area, which is where South Montgomery is. That's where I went to school. I played for a pretty famous coach named John Niblett. We won a state championship there my junior year. He was our coach. So, but anyway, so I kind of had always wanted to get into coaching. I coached Little League and, baseball. And even in high school, we had a little second, third, fourth graders during basketball. They'd play at halftime our games. I would coach those little teams. I kind of feel like I had a calling for coaching, but I just didn't really know how to break away and do it. So again, I was just helping there at the local high school working, and Charles Sykes hit me up about coaching basketball, and I still didn't have my degree. So I said, man, if I'm going to do this, my wife, Lisa, she's so supportive. And she said, you need to get your degree. So I started school at AUM at nighttime. So I was going nighttime. I was going Saturdays. I wound up, Lou Thornton was the baseball coach up there. He wound up having they had a team called the Montgomery Wings. Well, believe this or not, I wound up helping him with tryouts. He needed guys to hit fungos, do all that. I mean, and I had been in baseball my whole life too. So Lou, I wound up going up there helping him. He tried to hire me in the summer to coach with the Montgomery Wings to be one of the assistants. But now I needed to make a little money, and that pay was almost nothing. I was going to be gone all. I said, man, I had a little kid. Ryan was young then. I said, man, I can't do that. So if I'd have done that, who knows, things might have turned. But anyway, long story short, I wound up getting I had worked there at South Montgomery. I wound up getting my degree, and just so happened, like I say, the job came open, and I applied not knowing they might or might not give it to me. I didn't know, because that was a pretty decent little job to start off with as your first head coaching job. And they hired me, and that was 1998. And the first team I had, we went 0-9. And I say we went 0-9 only because we didn't have 10 games, or we'd have been 0-10. We played 9 games that year. We go 0-9. And I took a guy that was literally a guard named John Andrews. He was like a short, stocky kid. But boy, over the summer, he grew. And this guy wound up being the AISA Player of the Year, the MVP. Anyway, the first year we go 0-9. Next year we go 8-2. We had these shirts set from 0 to 8. We go 8-2. And in my second year, I'm the coach of the year. They had the banquet. I'm the coach of the year, because we went from 0 wins to 8. I'm like, man, I'm still trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing. Well, the next year, my third year in 2000, the independent school played the first state championship games at Troy. They started that was the first time they played at a neutral site. They played at Troy in 2000. Well, my team's in it. We wound up 11-2 that year. And so we went from 0 to 8 to state. We had shirts that said from 0 to 8 to state. I still remember those shirts, because that was and for the second time, I'm like the coach of the year, I'm like, man, I got this thing down pat. And anyway, we wound up, we played that year in the state championship against a school called Clark Prep. Billy Hamilton was their head coach. You know Billy?
Right. I know the name, yes.
Billy Hamilton was a head coach, and Coach McNair was their offense coordinator. Anyway, they were the wing T to perfection.
Right.
And we ran a spread. Like I say, I had this quarterback, John Andrews. I had some really good receivers. We threw the ball for all kind of records that year, and they ran the wing T. Anyway, they wound up beating us 44-37. A really good game. That was my first state championship. We come up on the short end. Anyway, next year was when Ryan started really playing. He was a freshman that year, my oldest boy. So the next year, which had been his sophomore year, was when he really started blossoming as quarterback. But at that time, we were in 4-team areas. So we went 8-2 his sophomore year and didn't make the playoffs because we lost 2 games in our area. So we wound up 8-2 and out of the playoffs. The next year, which would have been 2002, we go back to the state championship game and we lost to Jackson. And then the next year we got beat in the quarterfinal or the semifinals, the game to go to the state championship Ryan's senior year. But he wound up being a 2-time back of the year and all kind of recipients, all kind of awards. So anyway, when that season ended, I was making $33,000. This was in 2000 and the end of 2002. And so I went to my board and all at South Montgomery. I said, look, I told my wife, she wasn't making that neither, hardly, and she did everything. So I said, man, if I could get to $36,000, I can make $3,000 a year. So I went to him. I said, look, y'all know I live here. I grew up here. I mean, I live 4 miles from the school, you know. And they said, man, we don't know. You know, those independent schools, man, they don't have a lot of money. The students have to pay for the teachers. Your students, if you don't have enough students, you can't pay for the teachers, really. So they kind of hem-hawed went around. I said, well, I'm going to apply for some other jobs. I told Lisa. So anyway, one of the jobs I applied for was Elba High School. And Johnny Dunn, he was my principal, or he was the principal there. And Danny Weeks, he was the superintendent. So I went to Elba and interviewed. And Elba had a long-standing tradition. Now, they had done pretty poorly after Coach Wood retired. The 9 years after he retired, it had been 9 years since he retired when I applied for the job. Well, anyway, those guys offered me the job. Instead of making $33,000 trying to go 36, I was making about 68. So I said, man, this is the ticket.
Because that's a city school system, right? So they have a little more money, right?
At Elba. And those guys, I felt like I hit the jackpot. Sure. Now, my wife, she wasn't too happy because she did everything, and his brother at South Montgomery, and she wound up going down there and working in the library the first year. But then the next year, she wound up being the chief school financial officer and all that, which was more in her line of work. So she did really well there. In fact, she wound up staying there after I left. But anyway, we kind of got that program revived. They had some down years and wound up going to the state championship, going 15-0 in 2011. That was great. And so anyhow, that's kind of where I got started and where it went. And, you know, a little bit more after then. I don't know if you want to go through the whole thing, but.
Well, I'll bounce some stuff back at you with that's similar in terms of you're talking about going to school and doing a night school and all that stuff. You know, your school system superintendent, Eddie Tyler,
yes, sir.
Coached offensive line for me at Robertsdale.
Yeah.
And in 1994, and I can remember Eddie. You know, he had been nothing but a head coach in the school system, and at Daphne, and he stepped down there. They ended up transferring to Robertsdale. So when I get the job, he's there. I inherit him, and we meet and talk and have a good visit. And then he gets his first paycheck, and he brings it to me, and he says, "Coach." He shows me his paycheck. He says, "Is this what teachers make?" Because his check didn't have a supplement in it, you know. And I said, "Yes, sir. I'm afraid it is." Holy cow! How do people live on this? And so you know, and it was because he was, you know. So we of course I got him hired, got him a supplement, at least got him a little something to go in, and that summer. He as we got ready for the fall, he came to me and said, "Look, would it be okay if I miss Mondays?" And I said, "Well, what you got?" And he said, "Well, I want to get my administrative certificate, and the only way I can do it is drive all the way to Livingston every Monday and take night school classes, and I'm gonna have to do this for a long time." until I get this done. And would you be okay with that? I said, absolutely. Matter of fact, leave right after lunch. Just
Yeah. Go. Yeah.
go and get out of there. So now, if I had told him no, I don't know if he would be the superintendent or not. I don't know.
He might not be my boss today. That's right.
I have no idea where that would have gone and how that would have worked out. But he does that. They make him the principal at Fairhope High School almost immediately after he gets certified, and starts his administrative path along like 96, 97, 98, somewhere along in there. And,
right.
And started that journey for him. So
that's crazy.
Oh yeah, so you just never know. And then so you're talking about laughing about being undeserving of the Coach of the Year award.
Yeah.
My first year at Robertsdale, we went 4-6, and I was the Baldwin County Coach of the Year.
No.
Oh yeah, and which was I was, wow, this is unbelievable. But then it was all of a sudden, how bad a job is this? If winning 4 games got me Coach of the Year, what have I done? And maybe I shouldn't have jumped into this wasp nest. You just never know. Never know.
Yeah. Well, let me say this, backing up to Mr. Tyler. He is a fine man, and I have, I talk to him occasionally, not much, but every time I meet him, like I say, he's the nicest man. And I promise you, in Baldwin County, he does everything he can to take care of his teachers, his coaches, his principals. I mean, he works nonstop to make sure we all have the things that we need. So again, I can see that work ethic that you just brought up. He still got it today.
He was a tremendous offensive line coach, strength coach. Actually, and I told him this when he was the only person that I could never beat to work. I mean, it was like, and I'd get so mad about. I'd pull into the field house, and there's this little old stinking Jeep already there ahead of me, and I can't fix. So I said, "Well, Dad, Bernard, I'll get there at 5:30 today." Yeah. I mean, in the morning, I'm going to beat Eddie Tyler to work, and I get there, and there's that Jeep. It's like he knew that today was the day Fred's going to try to beat me to work.
Yeah, and he's coming in early today. I got it. Yeah.
Oh, he'd be sitting, and I'd come in. When I came in the door, he'd already have me a cup of coffee poured and hand it to me with a smirk on his face. Made me so mad. But I told him when he left, and because he left, Fairhope sort of strong-armed him. They strong-armed him a little bit to take the Fairhope head football coaching job. And he really didn't want to be a head coach at that time because he wanted to work on his administrative certificate. But Fairhope needed, they'd been through a lot, and they needed somebody that was going to be a very steady hand there and sort of get them going back in the right direction. And so when he left, I told him, I said, I want to tell you this, if I'm ever an assistant coach again, which I ended up being one again at Davidson and at Maryville College. I said, my goal is to be as good an assistant coach for them as you were for me. You have taught me how to be an assistant coach. I mean, what your work ethic, how you carry yourself, how you handle yourself. I want to be for whoever it is for them as you were for me. And if I do that, I will have done a good job. And that's how good he was. I mean, without
that's a great example. A great example to have. Yeah.
So anyhow, so now you, Lord have mercy, without going through your resume. Let's talk about this profession. And now, how many jobs you've been the head coach? You've been 26 years, but how many different jobs has that been involved?
All right. I was head coach at South Montgomery for 6. I was 9 years at Elba from 04 to 12. Then I came to Satsuma. My former principal at Elba took the job at Satsuma.
Okay, I remember that now. Okay.
Man, great guy. I love that Cliff Maddox. But anyway, Cliff took the job at Satsuma. I had never heard of Satsuma, never been to Satsuma, didn't know anything about it. He took that job. That was a year after we won the state championship. He left Elba and came down here because Satsuma broke off from Mobile County and became their own school system.
Right.
So he was their first principal in the new school system. He tried to get me to come in, but I stayed another year, and then he got me to come. So I coached at Satsuma 2 years, 13 and 14. That was my youngest boy, Reed. That was his junior and senior year. Mm-hmm. So I coached here 2 years. I coached at Satsuma 2 years. And then my mom had a stroke. She got kind of bad health. She still lived up in Grady, and I was the only child. My dad passed away in 2011. So mom was by herself. She wound up being in the nursing home in Luverne. Well, Coach Dubose resigned at Luverne. I told Lisa, I said, I got to be kind of get where I can get close to mom. We still had a home place up there, a place I could live, stay and all that. So Luverne job came open. I took that job in 2015, coached there 5 years, and we did make it to the state championship 2018. Anyway, but mama got okay at the time. She's since passed away this past summer. But anyway, and so I coached there 5 years, and I've been 4 years here now at Baldwin County. So
now Lisa,
that's 5 jobs.
Okay, so now Lisa, when you came to Satsuma, she got the human resources job or whatever in the Baldwin County schools, right?
Well, she actually stayed at Elba for a while and lived with her sister and her husband, because we got out of our house at Elba, and so she stayed with them, which was in Kinston, not too far. Mm-hmm. And I got a place down. We got a place down here, but so we were doing some back and forth for probably about maybe. I literally started down in Satsuma in February, and she started like in October. So we were kind of back and forth a little bit for about 6 months or so. Right. But then she got the job in the Baldwin County system. It just so happened, man, and she loves that job. She has really enjoyed it and takes to it, and she works. I mean, she's a great worker, and they appreciate her there. So, yes, so she was here then. She's been here now 10 years. I think she's been 10 years. Yeah. Right. She's been in this job for 10 years. So, and she enjoys it.
And but she stayed when you did the Laverne thing, right? I mean, there's a common theme here. Happened, which is just amazing how y'all held all that together and made all that work.
Well, the greatest thing a person can do is marry in my opinion, is marry somebody that loves them and do whatever they got to do to, make things work. And that's the way Lisa is and always has been. Yeah. So I was 5 years kind of going back and forth from Grady, that's where my house was up there when I was coaching in Luverne, but she would come every Friday and, to the ball game. She was a big supporter, and anything we had, she'd be up there for team meals over Thanksgiving, in the playoffs. And I mean, she was, and we're kind of from that area. So she knew everybody, around that town. And so it's not like she was a stranger. So it kind of all worked that we were there. I mean, it was a place where they were familiar with us, which is kind of how you get the jobs anyway. They got to know you to some degree. So
sure.
So anyhow, that was a really good school, man, and a good job. I mean, I loved Luverne, and then of course the job came up down here. And at that time, 4 years ago, my mom was doing good. We had her in good shape. So I said, man, I'm gonna see if I can get that Baldwin County job. And I started the interview. I sent all my stuff, and Craig Smith, he was the principal, and I go to the first interview, and literally it's interviewed like a whole committee, like 12 people.
Oh yeah.
And then they called, I think, 2 of us back, and wound up. I still figured they offered the other guy first, but I think he might turn him down. But anyway, when they offered me, I didn't turn it down. I took it, and I have enjoyed being here, and I got to meet so many great people, and Baby Net, a really, really nice town. I mean, just real good kind of, I guess, home folks, kind of like where I grew up, I mean, it's
well, and that's the other common thread, is that all your jobs have basically been the same kind of jobs. small town, working class, blue collar people, the kind of folks that you can relate to, that can relate to you.
Right.
That's sort of, I mean, all of those jobs that you said are pretty much the same thing, just in different locations.
They are just different size schools. I've coached in 2A all the way up to 6A in the public school, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6A. I've had some teams in all those classes. So the only thing I missed in the public school was 1A job and a 7A job. I hadn't had either one of them yet, but you know, who knows what the future holds. But all the places I've been have been real, you know, as you said, just people that, you know, love their community, they love each other, and they try to take care of each other, and are working class people.
Right.
So that's, as you said, that's all them are my kind of folks, because we grew up on a farm, so we knew about working. We worked a lot. So, and that's pretty much all I still know.
Well, you know, you're funny that you mentioned going in front of that committee, and and it was 1991, I believe. I had just finished my first year at Lenore City High in Lenore City, Tennessee. Had been in college coaching for about 10 years. Had gone to high school coaching, had a good year. And my daddy calls me and says, "Look, these folks down here at Dora are wearing me out. Will you please come down here and interview with them?" And he said, "You ain't got to take the job. You ain't. I ain't telling you what you need to do, son. But these coal miners down here. My dad was a coal miner. He said they won't leave me alone. So will you come down here and interview with them?" I said, "Absolutely, Dad. I'll get them off your back." So so I get the call, and I'm to meet the head of the booster club at the Green Top, at Leo and Susie's Green Top, there on Highway 78.
Yeah.
And so I meet them there, and then I get in the car with them, and we go and we drive past the school. Well, I don't say anything, but I said, "I know where the school is." We go past it. I don't know where we're going. And then we pull into the Dora Community Center. And we walk in, and the room is full. I mean, the chairs are everywhere. The room is packed, and there's an empty chair up in front of the room. And I leaned over and said, "I got a feeling that empty chair up there is mine." He said, "That'd be correct." I said, "Holy cow." So I go up and sit in an empty chair in the front of the room by myself, with the committee sitting at a table facing me, and 50 audience members back there behind me that can just throw questions at me whenever they want to.
Wow.
And let her rip. And and so we got toward the end. It had gone well. I had fun with them, and then because I'm working, I'm from there. I mean, I know those folks. I mean, my daddy was one of them, and you know, so we get sort of I mean, we sort of get toward the end, and one of them says, where are you gonna live?" I said, "Well, you know, I know Dora, Summerton area is sort of small as far as a place to live." I said, "I really don't know. I could go back toward Graysville or Adamsville or Forestdale. You know, my mom and dad live in Graysville. I guess I could go toward Jasper." And old boy stood up and said, "You ain't living across that river."
That wasn't gonna happen, buddy.
That wasn't happening. So it's gonna go on the committee. Says, "What if we provided you a nice stipend to help you with a rental home here in Dora? How would that work for you?" I said, I think that would work fine. And they said, "Well, do you have any questions?" I said, "I do have one. Where's the principal?" They said, "Well, he ain't got no say so in this hire. We're hiring the football coach."
Well, all right then.
Okay. So I left, withdrew my name, did my daddy the favor. They hired Joey Jones the next week.
Yeah, like Joey Jones, man.
Joey Jones was selling State Farm insurance or something there in Birmingham. And so they hired Joey as a custodian or a janitor, whatever. Yeah. I mean, they hired him in that position because he had no teaching degree.
Right. He didn't have a certificate. Yeah.
And that started his coaching, and which led to Mountain Brook, Birmingham Southern, South Alabama, the whole deal. if the principal had been at the meeting, I might have gone to door, and who knows what happened with Joey. I don't
never
know.
got started. Yeah.
But you just never know what's going. I mean, the little spider webs that are involved out there in your career.
A lot. I'll tell you a quick story. I went to Luverne to interview for that job. I was down here at Satsuma, like I say, Coach Dubose had basically retired again, I think. So anyway, I go up there, and the lady, my interview was like at night, like 7:00 or something. So I go up there, and I go in the door, and lady, nice lady met me there. She said, "Coach, if we'll just sit right in here in the office." So I walked in there at the main office, just sit in a chair there, I wait. So I'm waiting, and I hear some little rumbling, somebody coming out, and I hear somebody walking down the hall, and they make the turn there, and I stand up because I figured they were coming to get me, but it was Pate Harrison. You know Pate. Anyway, Pate. All right. Well, Pate, man, he's a great friend of mine, and he don't mind me telling this. So I get up and I walk there. Pate's coming out the hall to go out the door. He said, "Man, what are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I come to interview. If you'd have told me you was coming, I could have stayed at home." I said, "Oh, hey, come on, man." I said, "You don't know they're gonna hire me." He said, "Yeah, I do." He said, "They're gonna hire you over me. I know that for sure." And I said, "Man, you don't know Pate." Anyway, Pate's just there dogging me out, before I ever even going to the interview, because I didn't let him know that I was going, Anyway, I'm thinking, man, Pate done got in here and got me all, got that group all probably riled up in there. But anyway, long story short, good friend of mine, though, Pate, I saw him coming down that hall, man. He was just mad at me as the world because I had applied for that job and hadn't told him.
Oh, so, well, now, you've been at Baldwin County how many years now?
This is year 4.
Year 4.
I came, man, I got hired literally in March of 2020. Okay. Think about what was going on there.
Yeah.
I got hired in March of 2020. They were going to have the board meeting like on a Thursday, and I was going to come meet the kids and everybody on Friday. All right. Mr. Smith calls me on Tuesday. He said, "Hey, they had to up the board meeting because we may be going to shut the schools down." I said, "What?" He said, "Well, everybody might close." He said, "But right now, they're going to hire you." And I think he said, "I'm also supposed to get a raise all too. So we're going to do that on Tuesday, but you can still come on Friday." I said, "Okay." Well, I'm almost positive that Thursday, either Wednesday or Thursday, they closed all the schools. So I don't get to go down there Friday and meet a soul. I was at Luverne still, and I had told my kids I got the job, all that. So anyway, so I was planning on going and to meet the players, and that was March, like maybe the 25th or something. Well, it was June before I got to meet a player because they shut down everything. We couldn't even come to the school or nothing.
Right.
So I was trying to FaceTime kids, trying to get me a roster. We went over there and worked, me and some other people, about every day, but the players couldn't come. And really, we didn't know what the heck was going on. So I didn't get to meet a player till June. So you're talking about a late start. That was a tough first year because, I was planning on being in March, having spring training in May. All those months went by with nothing going on. So that was kind of tough. But I really like to take the rest of our conversation through that, because you're the first person that's really brought up taking a team through COVID, because I was retired by them, and I thank the good Lord every day that I didn't have to take a team through COVID, that I was not involved in, especially one like Davidson, with your players scattered everywhere. And how to manage all of that when they're told they can't, that they can come on campus just for practice, but they got to come and they can leave, and all that stuff, and navigating those waters. I was doing semi-pro then. They shut us down for a little bit, but we started right back up. And we played our season and finished it out because it was a spring deal. So tell me about navigating COVID. As a new coach, navigating the 2020 football season and how all that. Well, it was tough. I tell you, we when I got there too in March, it wasn't long after there, one of the young men that played there was out cutting grass. He had like asthma and all, and wound up passing away. So the first time I actually met any of the kids was at this, or the players, was at this young man's funeral. It was like in May. So I got to meet a few of the players in, just kind of see, you know, we had on those masks and all that, face coverings at young man's funeral. But anyway, so we went on and we finally, it was in June, the first part of June, I think, when they said, okay, y'all can start. Y'all can start. Well, my start was just trying to give out all those papers to sign and to try to meet some of the parents and the guardians and the grandparents and the players. I didn't even know a single player side. Some I had FaceTime and we had texted and all that, you know, and even talked some on the phone. But anyway, as far as actually meeting them and talking to them and trying to get to know them, in June was when we first met them. And when we started, Marty McCray, he still is our county athletic director for Baldwin County. He met with all his coaches. Fred, we had a whole list of things we had to do every day. We had to sanitize everything. We had to take the kids' temperature. They wound up giving us like 8 of those thermometer type.
Put them on the forehead.
Yeah. We had to set up tents outside to take the kids' temperature, record it, and all every day. And we had a whole series of questions we had to ask them. Have you been sick? Are you sick? Anybody in your family feel bad? You run a temperature? We had a whole, so we did this all of June, and I think July. We had just to get our little workouts in. We went through this whole list of things. And I mean, we had some kids that their grandparents or parents and all just, they would not let them play. They wouldn't let them play. And some of them were good players.
Yeah, I mean, I knew everywhere there were some, especially in the African-American community, they were scared to death. I mean, they were scared to death.
Well, that was the fear that was put in everybody. And, you know, I mean, I know a lot of lives lost, so, which is so unfortunate. But anyway, so we were just struggling to get players there, you know, but we worked around with it and finally got them in. And we played our first game, of course, in August, you know, and we wound up losing. But that's not the bad part. That COVID really hit us right after the end of the next week. We played week 1. I was playing the second half of the schedule that was made before. So we played Mary G that first game, and then we had a bye week. Okay. Well, during that bye week, we hardly had nobody at practice. We couldn't even practice. The kids got sick. We had to. So anyway, at that time, the way I understood, the AHSAA said, hey, if you can't get a field enough to play, let us know, let your opponent know, and we're going to just kind of see how we're going to go through this course. But originally, we were told those games wouldn't count against you.
Right.
If you didn't have enough to play because of COVID. I mean, it wasn't nothing we could do really, besides follow our protocol. If the kids are sick, send them home, don't let them practice. So we wound up going basically the bye week and 2 more weeks that we had to forfeit 2 games after then. So we went 3 full weeks without practice. Okay. And then guess what? We had that hurricane or whatever hit. It was like week 5 of the season.
Sally, I guess it was Sally, wasn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
We were supposed to play Foley. Anyway, we had all this mess going on with that. So we had played literally through 5 weeks. We had played 1 game. Now, some teams had played all 5. And the reason I say this,
they were one of them.
Well, yeah, but we wound up canceling the Foley game. We had to cancel it because Spanish Fort was in our region, and we were supposed to play Spanish Fort. Well, Ben, you know, he's like, yeah, we got to play. I said, Ben, I haven't even had a practice in a month. I can't take a kid down there and play you. Well, if you know Ben Black, man, he's hard-headed. He stayed on me. He said, man, I got to play. So we wind up playing them on a Saturday at 12 o'clock, high noon at Saturday at 12 o'clock. We go to Spanish Fort and play a game. They had played all their games. We had played 1, and it had been a month since we had played. And not even practiced. We got them together and practiced a little bit that week because of the hurricane and all. I had kids that couldn't come to the game. They were saying, Coach, I can't leave. My house is, but everybody was adamant we had to play that game. So we go to Spanish Fort and got drilled. We got slaughtered.
Mhm.
I mean, and I was really, I tell you, I was kind of hurt for the players for me to even do that to
Right.
those kids, But guess what? It was one of those things. It was like nobody cared. It didn't matter. The game had to be played. You ever been in
Mhm.
those spots where you feel like, man, this ain't right. I shouldn't be taking these kids down there to play a game
You
with no
know,
practice.
I
I
you
mean,
know, and when Katrina hit in
yeah,
'05,
yeah,
they made us play 3 games in 8 days.
that's tough.
And the
That's tough.
only the flip side of it was we were the big dogs at that time.
Yeah,
So it didn't matter to us. But our
yeah,
kids hated to practice anyhow.
yeah,
So we play a Friday, Wednesday, Saturday,
yeah.
and knock the 3 games out, and just steamroll all 3 opponents. So for us it worked out, but again, I understood they were like, we can't play y'all coming off of 2 days, Fred.
Yeah,
I said, look,
yeah,
I agree, but I didn't set the schedule. I mean, same thing. We played Fairhope, at Fairhope at noon on Saturday to
yeah.
get that 3rd game done in 8 days and get it over with, so we
Wow,
could sort of get back on schedule. Because the state
that's
said,
tough.
Baldwin County, Mobile County, y'all got to get caught up by this date.
Right.
Bottom line,
Yeah,
and figure it out.
yeah,
That was all we could do. So yeah, I've been involved in it. It just, I wasn't on your side of
yeah,
it. I
yeah.
was on the other side.
Well, picking up from there, we had played literally halfway through the season. We had forfeited 2 games because of COVID. We had that 1 game canceled because of the storm. So we had played 2 games. We wound up with only 4 more games. So no, with 5 more games. We actually played on the field 7 games that first year. And we won 3 out of the last 4. We kind of sort of got the ship righted, and we won 3 out of the last 4. So we really wound up on the field 3-4 that year.
Mm-hmm.
First year. The record shows 3-6 because we had the 2 forfeits. And then the Foley game didn't count either way because it wound up being canceled by the storm. But the downside of that, I was supposed to go to Foley that year. I had no control over that storm, but I had to go back to Foley the next year and play them. So they wound up home game. So that year, literally the next year, we were pretty good. We went 8-4 and had a really good team. I had my main man that's showing out at Southern Miss, Ty Mims. He was really,
Right.
really good. I had a lot of good players and some good seniors that year. But anyway, so we only played 4 home games that year, their senior year, or maybe 3. It could have been 3 because of forfeits. Oh yeah, it was 3 because we had those forfeits. If you forfeited, you had to go to the other team's place the next year. That was a rule that got put in.
You gave up the right to your home game, huh?
Yeah, you couldn't play the game because your kids had COVID and you were doing what you were instructed to do, and then you had to forfeit. I mean, you had to go to the other place the next year, which was kind of a double whammy. You're
Sure.
like, I didn't give these kids the COVID. I don't think I did. I mean, I couldn't help it. We didn't have enough. But anyway, as it was, that was the rules we played by. So we played by the rules. That's what we did. But our guys bought into it, and we were pretty good that second year. But that first year of COVID, that thing was tough. It was really tough.
And now I don't remember in that fall of 2020, how much of that were the kids actually in school?
Well, they were pretty much in school. We were having school, but you weren't required to come. And if you had COVID, you basically, I think we were quarantining maybe 10 to 14 days before you could come back.
Right.
You had to have a doctor's note, and there was a lot of kind of red tape you had to go around just to get back into school. So it was tough. And again, a lot of the parents, were afraid of the kids to play ball because they were saying, hey, you don't need to be touching everybody. And, hard to play football without grabbing on a little bit. You got to do some touching. So that was a lot of, sweat and all that. So a lot of the kids that probably would have played didn't really get a chance to play.
Right.
I mean,
if folks don't know the layout of Baldwin County High School and the school zone of Baldwin County High, like the school zone of Robertsdale a lot, it is so big.
Yes.
And it is so spread out, and getting kids in for summer workouts, getting kids in for fall camp, getting kids in the middle of that. I mean, when they're everywhere. I know when I was at Robertsdale, I would get the little red and maroon and white school van that the muffler was barely hanging on, and I would drive to Loxley 4 days a week and go through Loxley Heights and through there and pick up all of our Loxley kids and bring them to workouts and have them there and then take them home all summer long, because otherwise they weren't going to be there. I mean, they just weren't.
Right.
And so that every place is, folks wonder why city schools, for instance, are so successful. Well, besides the finances and the number of coaches that they have and all the other things that go with it, the fact that their kids can just about all hit the school with a rock from their house makes it so much easier to get to everything. And it's being a county head football coach is a tall order, and especially in today's world with the Saralands in the world and the people that in your region, especially, that you're having to compete with. It's tough. I mean, it's difficult. And I think Mobile County Schools 2020, going to school was optional. I mean, you just stay home and do it on a computer.
Yeah.
And which is what most of them did. And sure. I think most of them didn't even log in. And it was just me. And so it was up. If you wanted to have football practice, it was up to you to find a way to get them there.
And the kids can use computer now, like we used to go drive a tractor when I grew up. No, that's their thing. They can, So that was. I mean, I think the good Lord that I didn't have to carry a high school football program through that year. I can imagine the stress level of all of those things, from taking their temperature to all the paper, and again, you're your athletic director also, having to be accountable for everybody and everything. It was a lot. I mean, it was a lot, but
mercy.
I'll manage through it. And, which is what you got to do. It's kind of like life, you got to find a way to negotiate your way through there and do the things the right way. And hopefully in the end, it all work out.
At the end of the day, leaders lead. No matter what the chaos is, leaders lead. And like I say, I'm thank God that I didn't have to do it, but I would have. I mean, I'd have done. I wouldn't have walked off and said, "I ain't doing this." I mean, it just, it had done what you did and figured it out. And do the best you can with the hand that's dealt you, and teach lessons to the young people about how to deal with adversity in the middle of it.
I talked to our kids the other day, and I told them this: that every great story happens when somebody decides not to give up. You just keep hanging in there. There's a good story coming, and that's pretty much the case. And like I told them that, at the game last week we played, which was our last regular season game. But if you just hang in there, a lot of times good things will happen for you. And it seemed like today's society, a lot of times when you're just about to burst through and see the light in the tunnel, you have a tendency to give up, or
close. Close, no doubt.
That's right. That's right. Doubt. Yeah, every great story happened when someone just refused to give up, decided not to give up. So, we hung through that, and we're gonna keep on hanging tough.
So, let's wrap it up with what does Baldwin County High School football do between now and Christmas? How do y'all handle the off season when you're not a playoff team?
All right. Well, yesterday, we took up most of the equipment yesterday and today, kind of got all that situated. Tomorrow, we're going to start timing some 40s again. We're going to get height and weights again, time the 40s, and some shuttles Friday. And then next week, we'll start our lifting program back with we'll get our maxes again on our bench squat, power clean, and, all the stuff. And then we'll start working out off season, which really this time of year is sort of tough because you've got it broken up so bad, because we go next week, and then we're off a week for Thanksgiving. Then we come back like 2 weeks, and we're off again but we're going to work during that time. We're going to live. We're not going to waste our time. We're going to, as the man said, we're going to try to take advantage of the opportunities and the time that we have to get better. And literally, I got a really good, what'll be next year's seniors and juniors. Our current sophomore and junior class is good and strong. Got some good kids which I try to get the guys play every sport they can. If you can play. So we got about 7 that play basketball. So literally our last game was Friday. They started basketball practice Sunday.
Right.
And they play Sunday and Monday, and we literally have a game tonight. If I wasn't at the cheer clinic or the cheer competition, I'd been at the basketball game tonight. So they're over there playing basketball now, which is about 7 of them. So they're basically half the basketball team, out of 15. I'm a football guy. So, so they just jump right out of one into another one. I don't know, the effects of that, but I try to encourage them to play. And I think
they need to play. You're exactly right. They need to play.
Coaching from different people. They need competitions,
compete.
And so I try to encourage them to play multiple sports. Everybody that plays football to play something else, run track, play basketball, baseball, do something, besides just be coached by me for 12 months out of the year. So
and sending them home at 3 o'clock, there's just that much bigger window of time for them to get into something too.
Amen.
And without that structure of practicing games and no doubt. Now, one last thing, and I just thought about it. Classification changes. This is about to happen, right?
Correct.
It's a classification year, which will be a scheduling year also. So
scheduling year. I already been putting out them feelers trying to get my non-regions, but the other thing is 6A, which we're kind of in the middle of the 6A, so we're going to be, we're not moving up or down. We're going to be 6, but the 3 biggest 5A teams were right on the verge of 6A last year. They could have put them through. So there's possibility, Baldwin County, we could go back up north again if there's more, if we have a bigger influx of teams in this area in 6A, which is possible. Because we can't have 12 teams. I have been a proponent of not having any 9 teams or 16 regions.
Right.
Of everybody being 7 or 8. A 9-team region, man, that thing's hard to navigate. And a 6-team region, we have some 6-team regions, so you only got 5 games. I mean, you can be 2 and 3 and be a 3 seed or something. And because there are some teams this year in our playoffs that are 2 and 8. Same record, I mean, when you're 2 and 8, you're probably not really ready to go to the playoffs.
Right.
But when you got those small regions, it can happen. And when you got these big regions, you can have some really good teams left at home. So I'm a proponent for everybody either having 7 or 8, because I don't know any coach in our state anyway. They'll drive 500 miles to get a win, So, I mean,
no doubt.
It just is what it is. But so anyway, we'll have that out. Should be within about a month. Yeah, I think.
Gotcha.
So.
Gotcha. Well, I know over here, of course, we're Fairhope will be in 7A for sure. As always, St. Michael's, where they land, will be interesting. Do they stay 4? We hear little rumors that McGill might fall to 5 because their numbers are down. So be interesting to see how all that plays out. Who the I said from day one, I was on the committee when they talked about the classification, moving them up for, if you won so many championships and went so far in the playoffs and private schools. And I said, why don't we do that to public schools? Why just private schools? Why I don't understand why we just don't make that across the board. And and they just looked at me and told me to be quiet. And but there you are with Saraland, might win it. And the Saraland's probably going to win it again. Now again, the from my perspective, Saraland ought to have to move up to 7A. And I guess 7A region wise down here, it's easier, but it's a little more difficult though when you step into November. And the caliber of teams you get involved with Phoenix City and Auburn and those folks up there, it's a little different world. In November, but they, like I say, they took my suggestion and tossed it. So
Just laughed you off.
Yeah, this region one. You go sit down over there.
That Fred Riley's crazy. I don't listen to him.
Yeah, you don't want to listen to him. You know, that bird. But listen, buddy, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate it so much. We'll look forward to getting out and watching you practice some this spring and hanging out and visiting a little bit. Tell your family I said hello, and we'll get you back on here later on down the road. Okay.
Well, brother, I have enjoyed being with you. Tell Susan hey for me, and I have truly enjoyed talking with you. Will.
Appreciate it, partner. All right, good deal.
Good talking to you soon. All right, thank you. See you.